Welcome, welcome to the High Stake Podcast, where we talk to cool people that do cool shit. And one of the coolest people that I know, that I haven't seen in a long time, and it's such a surprise to see him, and such a great feeling, is my man John Allen. John, how are you, brother?
Dude, I'm doing well.
You look amazing.
Dude, it costs a fortune to look this trash.
Let me tell. So let me give you guys a little background on how I know John.
Can I warn them that I'm going to be laughing this entire time?
As well as you should.
Because the last time I saw you, I think gas was like $1.89 a gallon. And now I think it's like $66 an ounce.
75.
So 75. Hey, okay, I didn't check the markets today. So just to see you, man, it's like...
It's, brother, I'm going through right now. I'm at a sales meeting at Sam Ash right now. I'm at a sales meeting. So
You two had a flashback.
reminds me of that. I don't know if that was a good one or a bad one, but really great memories, brother. I know John for about. I met you in 2005, and let me give you guys a little bit of story. I know, 20 years. 20 years. A little story on how we met. I used to work at a music store where John was also working at a music store, Sam Match, which is no longer that they even closed there.
R.I.P. R.I.P.
R.I.P. Great memories.
Yeah, that place gave me some of my favorite people in this world that I still keep in contact with.
I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. I agree with that 100%. 20 years ago, you were like, what, 12? How old were you?
I was actually 8.
8?
Yeah, on a work permit. You know, my dad would drop me off at Sam, be a parking lot all day right before. So I had a shot collar so I didn't go too far. So
That's right. Little beeper. Yeah. So 20 years ago, it was 2005.
Yeah.
The music scene was a little bit different. Back then, you used to work in the band department because you were a trumpet player.
My trumpet.
Brother, it's been so long.
Yeah.
What do you use? I know what you have been doing because I follow you on social media, but why don't you tell us? You have a music background. Obviously, you're a trumpet. You're an accomplished trumpet player. But you decided to go into the sampling world, DJ world. Explain to us what it is, John Allen, Just Alliance.
Yes.
What is that you do?
So at the time you and I met, I had just graduated from UNLV.
Yeah.
Went to school, music education. I wanted to be a band director. Spoiler alert, was never a band director. But that's the most exciting part of the story is where was the fork in the road?
Yeah.
And like I think any artist that I've ever studied, either from Picasso to Everett Hopper to Miles Davis kicking his heroin habit, lock himself in the room, it starts out with heartbreak and anguish. And this girl had dropped me like third period geometry.
Now hold on.
That's it. Place true to the
You can close this. We're done. We called that. Now, is this the girl that I knew?
No, this is another girl that dropped me like third period geometry.
So you have a couple of girls. Great inspiration.
Listen, I've been canned more than tuna fish in this life. Okay.
So you graduated at UNLV.
Yeah.
You were like, man, I'm gonna be a cool band teacher.
Yeah.
You got dropped.
Oh yeah.
Hardcore.
Oh,
I've been there, brother.
not even on my head. Like if you can pick someone up in a wrestling and drop them on their soul, bang, that was me. So I'm just like, I'm all messed up and heartbroken.
What year is this?
This is 2006, 2007.
Okay. So you're still at Sam Ash at that time?
No, I had just left and I was starting to teach around the district and whatnot, doing different things, and really just trying to figure out how to be a young adult. Yeah. For 20 years later, still working on
I'm in front of the silver. I still look at myself in the mirror and I say, you know, I look like a mister, but I feel like a child.
You're like, Cubito.
Very little child, you know. I was like, oh my god. So you going through a heartbreak.
Yeah. That's literally
What
spark. So I got to tell you the story. So I was so banged up emotionally. I was like sick for a couple of weeks. I was like, oh my gosh, my life's over, whatever. And I come home one day, and I turn on my computer, and there's audio. I don't know if it was Reddit or these other websites at the time, and it said street musician makes entire song with his voice.
Yeah.
Hashtag one man band. And of course, I'm thinking it's the bass drum here, it's the cymbals in the arm, it's the trombone coming out of the ear, the finger casts and that's the neck accordion. I'm like, all right, let's just, what nonsense is this? And I click And that's one of the firewall moments of my life. It's like your first time seeing the ocean, your first kiss, the first time falling in love, first time in handcuffs, whatever it might be.
I can relate to that quite a bit. He changed after the third time.
You out of the floor and you're down here like, oh, whatever.
Lose the mystique.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's no longer.
I click on it and I see this guy. What's he doing there? Is he singing? Is he beatboxing? There's drums, there's bass, there's harmonies. And now he's singing. Now he's rapping over it. I'm like, what is this? Because at the time, what I was doing in town, like at the time, all your big Broadway shows were coming. Your Mamma Mia's, your Lion King's, your Phantom of the Opera. That didn't really interest me. Me playing, Brick House 5 nights a week in the lounge didn't really interest me. You did. And now we're here, right? Let's still not do it, right?
Yeah.
And then I didn't want to do like the jazz club where you're playing Caravan, the whole note equals 685, right? I thought that didn't. But the stuff I was doing, like very atmospheric, very moody stuff, no one in town wanted to play. I was like the B girl in the Blind Melon video. I was like, well, I want to make music on my own terms. How do I do that? I wasn't recording hip like you were,
Right.
are still.
Right.
But now I see this guy doing all this stuff live and by himself. I'm like, that right there. I don't know what he's doing, but I know I want to do that.
Now, here's a big question as a musician, because you devoted all of this time in learning your craft as a trumpet player, learning how to read music, being, a wind instrument is different than a guitar player, because a guitar player is self-taught. A trumpet player, you actually gotta pay attention and do really musical shit.
Right.
Did you have any problems saying, I'm not longer going to be a trumpet player. I'm going to get into this digital technical looping kind of situation. Was there any doubt in regards to musicality? Because I know as a musician, I go, well, shit, I identify as a guitar player.
Sure.
You being a trumpet player for so long, did you have or you were just like, I'm not going to do that kind of shit anyway. It doesn't attract me. Let me get in this full force.
Yeah, for me it wasn't let me choose to not play trumpet anymore, or let me choose not to go play in the dance band on a Saturday night and go play the church gig on a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
For me, it was just taking the skill set I already had, the work ethic I already had, the musicality, and just applying it over there. Like if you want to learn how to, cook Cuban food, you come out of a Filipino food background.
You have your...
Yeah, he has that base there. Cooking's cooking. There's just making alterations as needed.
Yeah.
So I go out, and when I tell you that I started from square one
Sure.
on this, even that's being generous. So I was like, man, what is all this stuff? And so at the time, this is still the Wild Wild West days of YouTube. There was no influencers. Like
Nobody was teaching you how to do
no one taught you anything.
Yeah.
So like at the time, like there was no tutorials. So I'm stuck in this artist's videos. Of course, it's filmed with a potato at like 35,
Yeah.
resolution.
Yeah.
Dark.
No audio.
Like everyone looks like a Rorschach test. You know what I mean? Like 2006, right? 2007. And I would pause it and I'm like, okay, what is that piece of gear? And I go out there. I'm like, oh, RC, R5, R8, then finally got like RC50. What's that? Boss. Boss. Oh. So I click on, the dial-up internet back in the day, right? You got me.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
And it pops up. It was like $500 for the pedal. Now, mind you, that was as much as my rent check. I was like, well, maybe there's...
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, at the time.
Yeah, sure.
So I was like, well, maybe there's a smaller version of it. Man, a little bitty RC20, 2 pedal. So I was like, that's what I want to get. So I don't know anything about microphones. So I was like, this microphone looks good. It was like a $30 karaoke microphone.
Is that a Samson?
No, it was Dyna something. Something. It was like a wood burning, like it was like, it was just a very primitive, very low end microphone I got, and then I got all the cables for it, and I got the looper, and I got a little 10-watt guitar amp. That was my first rig. So I go home and I tell the story anytime I do my live looping workshops around the country. And I go home. At the time, it took me like 30, 40 minutes just to set that much up.
Yeah.
Because I'm a trumpet player.
Yeah.
I've never had anything outside of a keyboard that plugged in the wall. I'm used to going to gig, throwing the mouthpiece, bang.
That's it.
So when I say square one, again, it's being generous. So I go out there and I put I finally learned how to put my rig together in less than a half hour.
Yeah.
And the first thing I put down was just. That just starts blipping. I'm like, yeah, dude. I felt like Dr. Dre making the freaking Chronic album. I was like, I just made something,
Yeah.
And that was literally where it started out. Still watching his videos. The artist's name is Dub Effects. He's massive in the looping world. And they say never meet your heroes. I've gotten a chance to meet him a number of times. He's great.
That's good, though.
Yes.
That's good. Yeah, I got to meet a couple of my heroes.
Sure.
And it didn't go as planned.
All right. And people are human. You sit there, oh man, I met so and so, and there's this video of this artist telling this person off. Well, what you didn't see is that fan knocking on the dude's front door when he's having Sunday dinner, and the artist opens up the door. Like,
To show you that it's in the background. Yeah.
So a couple months later, after spending months, diving headfirst into this, I was like, okay, well, how does he do all these other effects and what on his voice? I go back to that same granny video, and I'm like, what is that? And it was the Boss GT10 multi-effects top. And
That's a very popular effects press for guitar players.
yeah, so the GT10 was for guitar player, GT10B for bass players.
That's right.
And at the time, that was as much as my rent was. Super. So of course, I have priorities. Do I pay the rent or get the pedal? So what do I do?
By the
Damn right. I'll live in the car for a couple months, but at least I'll have this pedal.
People don't understand the struggle.
And dude, I go out there and I finally learned how to stitch them all together. And I remember my very first open mic I ever went to here in Vegas. My very first public performance as a live looper, and I went to a bar. And dude, I brought in my rig in a laundry basket with my pedals wrapped in a purple sheet I got from the thrift store.
Yeah.
So when I say square one,
You were squarey.
the squarest of the square. And, of course, you find something that you love, you find something that you're passionate about. And I just wrote a blog about it yesterday, actually last night. It's going to be coming out here in a week or two. Like if something has passion,
Yeah.
then the hard work,
It's just
it just turns into necessary work.
well, it's a necessity.
Right. And you're not afraid to thumb on that hard work. You're not afraid to stay up all night trying to figure out what the hell parametric EQ is.
Sure.
So that was kind of the start of all of that. And then aforementioned lady friend, that was kind of the spark. She came back around a couple of times, but
Did you call
this interview so far has lasted longer than her and I did.
I was gonna say, do you call her and do you thank her? And
No.
but no?
No, when she called me up, I had other things in mind rather than thanking her.
Yeah, no, for sure. If you're looking at this,
Right.
brother, that's by the way, that those I love those stories because I can relate to those when I started my music career.
Yeah.
And there was a video of me playing my very first gig. Right? I was in my very first gig. It's funny because I'm playing the same fucking entire song. Oh? You know what I'm saying?
Song of a camera. Lowrider's lowrider.
Lowrider's lowrider. Black Magic Woman will always be Black Magic
Right.
Woman. So it's amazing how I was 16 when my first gig, right? And it was I was at the Roadhouse on Boulder Highway in Henderson, playing in a company.
The Road Handbooks. Wow. I'm telling you, bro. That place at the time was in the middle of nowhere.
Well, it still is. But this, it so still is that they took it away. It was so in the middle of nowhere. And
It was a shallow stage, low ceiling.
horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, it was about 2.5 seconds from having barbed wire. It's like it was that bad. And I looked, and of course, it was done. It was recorded on a VCR.
Sure.
And in my mind, when I go back to that stage,
Yeah.
that first, I was so nervous because it's my first time doing a solo night. I'm playing with older people at the time. I found this cassette tape, VHS, and I saw it. And I listened to myself, and it was so horrible.
Yeah.
It was so bad.
In my mind, though, I thought it was great.
And in mind, you were playing Carnegie Hall with Dizzy Gillespie. And
In my mind, I go, how dare you? How dare you not stand up and applaud my wonderful guitar solo? I listen to it now.
Yeah.
And then you know what do people say? Don't compare yourself to others. I am going to compare myself to others because that's what I do. I'm human.
Yeah.
Speaking of YouTube, now you go to YouTube and you see a 15-year-old kid playing guitar.
Right.
Monsters.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck was I thinking. Career, I had long hair.
I remember like
Long hair and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Going back to you. So now you found your passion. You're committed to this. It's a very niche thing, looping and doing melodies and whatnot. How do you start progressing? How do you start finding gigs? I know that you also do a lot of clinics and stuff like that. How do you get into that world? Because you've been doing it now for a while now, and you just came back for touring.
Yep. You
You sold out how many shows?
11 out of 12.
That's
And the 12th one was like half-ish.
that's great. You started now. You're doing clinics. You saw the show. Where was the show at?
Cleveland.
Now you're traveling.
Yeah.
And you're doing things nationwide. And do you go overseas too? I think you went overseas.
Yeah, I was overseas 2 summers ago, and that story how that ended up happening is ridiculous as well.
We'll get to that in a minute. But let's talk about now you're doing the tours. Now you're doing this thing. Who goes into these clinics? Because it's a hip thing now, man. I mean, it's a really cool thing what you do at Musically. Where do you come out? Do you practice your sets before you go on stage, or are you improvising as you go on, or you read your room? Tell us what your process is when it comes to that.
Well, I'll get to that.
Yeah.
The question is, how do you do your workshops? How'd you get those gigs? How'd you get into that? Like, dude, when I tell you it was trying to split the atom in my living room, trying to figure out how this stuff worked.
Well, that's
It wasn't like I go to the open mic and everything's figured out. Like, every time I turn on, I learn something.
and let me just say, and I'll put a link. I think you did send me some performances on your send me all that stuff so we can plug it in here and people can see what we're talking about. The technical side of it is extremely difficult. It could go wrong with one button. But because I tried looping my guitar and it's like, get out of here. I'm not going to do this. This is so scary because it could really go back.
Yeah.
What did it take to learn? Brother, this is a very, very intriguing and very hard piece of equipment to do what you do.
I think the short answer to that is like, what did it take? I think just passion.
Passion, yeah.
Like, do you love it? Are you, like, how bad do you want to get in shape?
Yeah.
How bad do you want to get out of your circumstance in life? How bad do you want to get out of a bad relationship?
Yeah.
I was talking to a very dear friend of mine overseas last night. He moved out of a major metropolitan area, and now he's living like on the edge of town. He's like, dude, John, I got to show you this. Pulls back his curtains, and there's woods everywhere. I was like, how far does that go back? He's like, I don't know. I haven't seen the other side of it yet. Yeah. And he's like, dude, what it's done for my mental health. Because how bad do you want it?
Funny shot.
So it was a good number of years of just, trying to figure this stuff out. Just trying to find whatever I could on YouTube to figure out, how an EQ works, how compression works. And I'm still, like, I'm the studio guys at Capitol Records aren't sweating for their chairs because of my knowledge base.
Right.
It's just, it's one foot in front of the other. And then going out there and taking your music, an open mic, a community event, art in the park, and throwing it against the wall. And does it stick? Do people like it? Do people not like it? And, you get the entire from yes to no to get the hell out of here to, oh my gosh.
That's so hard.
Yeah.
That's extremely hard.
It's tough. But
You gotta have
what life is worthwhile, but is it tough?
That is very true. That is very true. So you're doing these events, you're doing these shows, you're learning your craft. What do you decide musically speaking in regards to? Do you go by what's trending right now so you can get the crowd going, or do you have a specific line of melodies and music that you go by?
Well, when I first started out, I was legit basing my entire rig and learning songs from cat who I was talking about earlier, Double Effects. Shout out to my right band. Then I was finding these other guys and dolls in the looping community. I'm like, you mean other people do this? You mean there's other ways of going about doing this? I don't know. I think it might have been a year or two after I got in the live looping game. Double Effects is playing the NAMM show down in Anaheim. I didn't even know what the NAMM show was.
Let's talk about what the NAMM show is for those who are listening to us. What
It is the happiest place on earth.
it sure is.
Across the street from the happiest place on earth.
That's right. So the NAMM show is is it a yearly event now?
Yeah.
It's a yearly event of every company that makes musical instruments, recording instruments, microphones, guitars, drums,
pedals.
everything, pedals.
All the weird stuff like the hand pans and
Everything that is music retail related.
Yep.
They do a show in California, Anaheim.
Yep.
And if you're lucky enough to get invited to get a pass
Or sneak in. Or don't judge.
we're in Dutch. Good.
Look at my iPhone. Bracket.
Free of
My stuff in here.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
not even your place, is it?
If somebody nods, we're actually to get out of here. So this a great. As a musician, if you experience a NAMM show, it's great because not only do you see all of the new equipment, but you also see all of the guys that you admire playing. So you go to the
Guys and girls out.
guys and girls, killers, all of them. You go to the NAMM show and you see all of this new technology, and you're just soaking it in and whatnot. All of this is very expensive. Buying this equipment is expensive, and I know every piece of equipment that we buy, we question. At least I do.
Yeah.
I question. I go, am I going to get the money back, or am I? It's really worth it? Because it's times be tough. You know what I'm saying for some of this stuff. As somebody that understands spending money on equipment a lot, where do you draw the line? Because there's always something to buy. Like now, you have a setup that is mobile. I imagined. I was watching your post on YouTube.
You were the one.
Yeah, I pressed like. Do you see that?
One view.
Yeah, that's right. And then so you have this everything in an envelope case. You could take it anywhere. That was not the case before, right? I mean, it was.
You said my laundry basket. I was fine.
We get too fancy sometimes, bro. We get too fancy.
I'll tell you a story about the NAMM show.
Yeah.
I go to the NAMM show. Double Effects is down there. Boss has him down there to play. And I remember walking into it's the Anaheim Center that I got it kind of built right next to the arena. And there he is on this little stage. Dude, I'm 28 at the time.
Yeah.
I had, it's weird. Like I remember doing a gig in like 2001, or George Foreman was at this gig. I'm like, dude, that's Big George.
Yeah.
Like, holy cow, that Effects, And going up to him and watching him just do his thing, and like his skill set, it was like I was the youngling studying, watching Yoda, his stuff. And I remember watching him and, talking to him, me then introduce myself, the whole thing. And I was like, you know what? One day I would love to go around the country and empower people with a live looping platform. And that right there was kind of the spark of the workshops, and ultimately, being able to, being blessed to work with Roland and Boss and certain companies.
So let's get into that because
Your bribery gets you anywhere, my friend. Extortion.
so Roland that's a big brand.
Absolutely.
How do you start working with them?
That's a question I get all the time when I do, like when I was in the Cleveland Institute of Music 2 weeks ago teaching a music business workshop there. We talked about endorsements. We talked about that sponsorship. So here's the elevator pitch. If you ever want to work with companies, actually, there's a gentleman here in town who will remain safely anonymous. I love him to death. How much do I love him? I would help him move in August. And you know how far the back of the U-Haul is in August here in Vegas?
Brother, I have people that do that for me.
But yes, that's the difference in tax brackets between you and I. Right?
No, I get okay.
So he calls me up. He's like, John, listen, man, you work with all these companies. How do you do it? And back in the day, when I started working with companies, people, I'd get these questions all the time.
And by the way, it's extremely hard to work with companies.
It can be.
Well, for you, it may not be now, but as a guitar player, first of all, my skills were never as good as yours. I could never get endorsed. Even strings.
Right.
So tell us how you got into that.
This is what I told him, and this is a blueprint that, and then now take out all of lottery winning stuff, like you're discovered out of a sudden on a street corner or YouTube or whatever. Let's just talk about the grassroots. So this gentleman calls me here in town. He's like, John, I want to be endorsed by XYZ company. He may or not be a drummer.
It's not drummer, right?
It's a drummer.
No,
You got
you about it.
I was like, well, tell you what, let's go to lunch. We'll talk about it. And me telling people, well, take me to lunch. We'll talk about it. That's literally the first step of their endorsement project or sponsorship project, whatever route they want to go for. Because if you won't invest in going to lunch with me and invest in lunch, then I know for damn sure you're not going to do the work to get whatever.
Super smart.
So it's a vetting process.
And that, by the way, I think that applies in every business and every relationship that they want to. It starts with breaking bread.
When possible, go face to face.
Yeah.
I don't care if you drive across town. I've driven 2 hours to meet with people before. So we meet up. He's like, dude, I want to work with companies. And the first question I asked, well, why?
Right?
What, are you just trying to check off a box? I had another artist once upon a time. I asked her the same thing. Well, why do you want to work with companies? Well, I just want free stuff. I was like, then I can't help you. Because that's not what it's about.
Right.
The other person, the other narrative is, well, John, I love their stuff. I was like, do they know that? I was like, no. I was like, let's start right there. Well, I want to endorse, XYZ, brand, like brands. I'm trying to keep the person.
Sure, no, of course.
I was like, he's like, I want to endorse XYZ, this and XYZ that I use. I'm like, then endorse them. What do you mean endorse them? Endorse them. An endorsement isn't a noun. If you look at endorsement as a verb, like you believe in it.
Yeah.
You believe in the brand, you believe in the product, you believe in the designers, the engineers, to the molecular level.
Yeah.
Then go out there and endorse the product and bang the literal or figurative drum to let people know about that. So this is the four. When I got this part of the music game, this is before you could do stuff like this. So on that, he had to get a UDD studio, and we sound like old men saying that, but how much technology has changed? That's a whole other conversation.
For a cast in 10 years, by the way.
He starts putting out tagging his, and I'm watching all this stuff unfold. 6 months later, he calls me up. Dude, I got a call from the AR rep from XYZ company. They brought me on to this, that, and the other. He's like, dude, you were right. And I was like, dude, so I think if you're wanting to get to that game, just be passionate about it. Document it, tag these people, reach out to these people. Dude, I get calls or emails through my website. Hey, man, I live in XYZ backwater town. We don't have a Guitar Center or a Sam Ash, RIP.
Where can I get?
How do I reach out to a Fender or whoever? I'm like, dude, find out who the area rep is. There's weight classes. You don't go right up to the top. Find out who the area rep is and go in there. Hey, man, when are you coming to, God's Elbow, Nebraska next time? I'd love to take you to lunch.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some product. And, I want to show you what I'm doing. And I always let people know, hey, what can I do to make your life easier?
It's a people business at the end of the day.
That's all it is.
That's what it is, yeah.
That's all it is. And your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yeah.
And you treat people well. And like when I do corporate events, when I did my residency in Cleveland 2 weeks ago, if I'm working with Box or Roland or Electro Voice or Dark Matter Audio that makes my in-ears, AKG makes my headphones, I always tell them, my job isn't to come on stage and make music. You know what my job is? To make you look good.
Yeah. Sure.
It takes all the ego and all the BS out of the equation. Now people are like, this person gets it. And man, when was the last time you told your staff, listen, guys, if so comes in the office, I'm not here, don't take his phone call for me, don't patch it through. They're just too helpful.
Never was. Yeah.
That's my point.
Never was.
Now, mind you, in this entire narrative, it wasn't, well, you need to be able to play at this level, or you need to have XYZ look.
That never came there,
Or album, because a lot of those like winning lottery things. Like, hey man, I got I went viral overnight. I went to bed last night and I woke up today and my email has stretch marks on it because I have so many inquiries.
Yeah.
Those things happen. I have friends of mine that's happened.
Sure. But we cannot have a business plan relying on those things.
Relying on the goal.
Yeah, if they happen, that's great.
Right.
But let's keep doing what we're supposed to do every day.
That is correct. Do you have to do that crowd work, that grind? But again, like I said, if you have passion for it, do that. Then listen, I can't tell you how many shows I've done, earlier on where there's more people on stage than there is in the audience, and I'm a one-man band. I've done that. I'd like to thank you for coming out, Ted, behind the bar.
The sound guy.
Yeah, the sound engineer. No, not even that. He left too, man. Like I've done those, but that's all part of it. I guess I saw an interview with Wynton Marsalis years ago. It's always inspired me. Where this interview asked him, how do you deal with all the trials and tribulations on the road and all the is it rose tinted glasses? Is it all this something effective? Is it all this puppy dogs and ice cream on the floor? He's like it's all puppy dogs and ice cream because it's all part of it.
Yeah.
Like I did a corporate thing once upon a time at Caesars. Played in front of like 5,000 people. It was a big corporate event, the big ballroom. They knocked down like every wall imaginable to get all these people in here. Did this thing. The next night, I was playing a coffee house for 12 people for nothing.
Going to a story like that, when you're doing something that you love, when I was doing music, I was still a Sam match. I remember when they used to send you to they would send you to, they sent me to New York to Sam Ash, 48th Street. Right back. I remember that I was in New York, and I got a call, and it's a call from a music director that I knew, and he goes, "Hey man, can you play for this guy?" And I didn't even know who the guy was. I was like, "Sure." He goes, "Well," I said, "I'm in New York right now, but I'll come back on Saturday." He goes, "Well, the dig is on Saturday." I was like, "Okay." I said, "Well, I come in like at 9." And he happened to be a guy that had just won what will be the American Idol version in Spain.
Yeah.
David Bisbal is his name. And I remember I came in and I played. I didn't know. Thankfully, I'm kind of okay to learn the song. One song that I had to learn, 2 songs. And I remember it was like about 5,000 people. And I go on stage. And he was like,
Was this in Spain?
No, this happened here in Vegas. So I come back from New York.
Yeah.
He comes in. We're on stage. The guy's not nowhere to be found, right?
The star.
The star. He shows up in the limo behind stage, gets up on stage, clicks stars. We start the show. Girls go crazy because of me. No, girls go crazy. I finished the gig, and I was in such a high that the next tempo, I play at this shithole wall, like a very questionable bar for $60, and that was just like the
Your girls didn't go crazy. They just probably fell deeper into their alcoholic swill.
They completely left me with the star, and I went to play with these 2 people. So I understand that contrast of being on a huge stage to going into a normal. By the way, very normal feeling for me, where it's like 2 people look at at the show. But how do you stay positive throughout all of that stuff, brother? I know what you mentioned in my life as well. When you're on stage and there's 2 people and you gotta do what you gotta do. But how do you keep positive, right? Doing your art, knowing that this is part of it, because a lot of people they don't believe in. They want instant gratification.
Sure.
They don't understand. And you've been doing this for a while now, so you understand how long it takes. How do you stay positive, brother, when you have to go through these trials and tribulations?
Listen, I wish I could say, "Oh, Christian, I'm always positive." Man, there's some days I'm just like, I wonder how much I can get for this and my kidneys at the pawn shop.
100%.
Right? What's a human heart going for?
100%.
But you go back to that Wynton thing. That's all part of it.
Yeah.
And I think you can't define. I think you have to define what success is. Is success playing for the 5,000 people and 4,999 of them are screaming beautiful Spanish women? A man could dream, right?
I'll dream for about 2 songs.
Is that what success is? Or is success playing that Saturday night gig for $60 and you're like, hey, listen, I got ignored tonight, but you know what? I got some great pictures. I got a chance to meet a couple of people. I'll follow up with them. There's sometimes the music game is a game of miles. Most of the time, it's a game of inches. Like jujitsu, you see those Gracie. I use the analogy of a big MMA guy. They have those Gracie breakdowns on YouTube where they'll be like, hey, this is how Dustin Poirier beat so-and-so. And they'll be like, if his arm was here, he could have gotten out of it. But since his arm was here, home dude lost the belt or got knocked out or whatever. I don't know, man. I think always just having that baseline passion for what you do, belief in yourself.
Yes.
You don't have to get all Tony Robbins about it, but like, hey, listen, I got paid $60 to play at this, this dive bar or whatever, but I still got paid to do what I love.
Yeah.
And it just pads the resume. Like I've been fortunate enough to teach at world-class music conservatories, and I've taught at middle schools with first-year band directors that I have Doc Martens older than the band director. So I go in there, the band director's like, I don't know what to do with my program, John. Can you help me out? We want to incorporate technology. Ready, set, go. And it's both programs, be it the Cleveland Institute type or the first year band, they're still going to get the same.
Yeah, Anderson, first impression from I see you were going to the big show. Let's talk about this tour that you did, brother. You went to Cleveland, 11 shows sold out.
Yeah. That's out of 12. For those just tuned out, that's not out of 1,000.
By the way, brother, you should feel super proud of yourself. That's great.
Yeah.
How is that, brother? How do you prepare for that? How do you get that gig to begin with? I mean, that's a great gig.
Yeah. So the show itself, what I made a program called Stardust, an immersive music experience, and about 2 summers ago, a friend of mine runs the recording studio at College of Southern Nevada. Mm-hmm. Hey guys, we've got this new, $150,000 mixing board and all this vintage gear. We rebuilt. We're having an open house. Why don't you guys come out? Right? Come out and support my. Hell yeah, I'll go support my guy. So I drive across town. It's like 130 degrees outside. I get over there. We're hanging out. A bunch of musicians just bebopping around, and in walks this gentleman that I was like, I've never seen this dude before. He and I get to talking. I was like, hey, man, I noticed you have a college lanyard. Like, what's your piece of the empire here? He's like, I'm the planetarium director. I was like, oh, you have my curiosity. He's like, I'm looking for musicians to play inside the planetarium. I was like, now you have my attention.
Oh.
And I'm like, I sit up a little bit straight. Oh, sure. Yeah. Wait, go on. Tell me about this. I was like, so he's like, yeah, I want to do music events inside the planetarium. I'm like, and the sphere had just opened up, or was about to open up. U2 was, do the thing. And I was like, that sounds rad. I was like, so like, what are you wanting? Like, I doubt he's wanting like a Rolling Stones cover band in there or whatever. It's a small, it doesn't have the space for it, one. I was like, so you want like, you're just floating through a hot tub full of oatmeal, smoking a nice cigar and drinking fine brandy, floating through the cosmos, like, sort of thing? He's like, yeah, something like that. He's like, do you know anybody? I was like, dude, I've been to every single one of this guy's shows. He's like, you need to introduce me to him. I'm like, I'm John. That's my point. Because during COVID lockdown, that's when I got into like asymmetrical or ambient music, right?
Yeah.
Really just, because up until that point, everything was very much underground. A 4-bar drum beat, a 4-bar bass line, a 4-bar hi-hat. Very, very rare, right? And then I got like the ambient stuff, the independent loops and whatnot. I'm like, and delays and reverbs, spacey stuff.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, would you come in an audition? I'm like, certainly. So I'd bring my rig out and we set a date. I'd go out there and him and his assistant are sitting there in the front row. And I was like, hey, do you just want to like maybe put some footage on the ceiling? I'll just go. He's like, yeah, give me a second, John. Click, 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 click. Yeah, cool. We're going to lose the light in 5, 4, go 3, 2, 1. It gets black in there. Him and his assistant are sitting there in the front row. That's called Chekhov's gun, by the way. I'm planting the scene because that comes into play.
I'm in there right now.
You're in there right now, yeah.
I'm in there right now.
So I do like this little 7-minute, like really swirly soundscape with the, all the stuff. And finally, at the end of that 7.5 minutes, music disappears back in ether for what's the K. Now have your word. And I look in the front row. They're gone. Listen, I'm not a violent man. Right? I'm not a violent man. But you walked out on my audition? It's like The Godfather. I'm Mo Green. You don't walk out on me. I walk out on you, right? I'm like, all right. I'm about to just like, dude, have some respect. Yeah, have some respect. So now I'm about to go in his office or the teacher's lounge or Arby's, wherever he ended up, and be like, dude,
What's wrong?
you know how many miles you live from my house? All of them. All of them. I come around, I walk out in front of my desk, picture, boom. And I look down, I'm like, what the hell is that? Mind you, it's still pitch black in there. I can't see anything. Shit. He's laying on the floor. Like this. His assistant is laying like this.
They did some mushrooms like we're listening to your shake.
That's mushrooms. I don't know what they did. They might have done their thing. I did drug testing, right? And I'm looking down. Hey, you guys all right? And he's like,
John just gave me a sight. I was like, okay. He's like, that was so
beautiful.
Oh, wow. Wow. Wow, that's
Like, a little goosebump. It gets back. Like, the realities of my life are more important, or more interesting than anything I could ever make up. And of course, me being the musician, I'm like, that's cool. Did I get the gig? Yeah. He's like, oh, please. Cool. So we set up a date. I got some stock footage. We put it together. We had a Monday, it was called Monday meditation, or since I didn't catch my typo one time, Monday mediation.
Hey,
Right.
I know that Monday mediation.
It's on my Instagram right now. Go look at my typo.
Monday mediation.
We put the word out, and we had damn near a full planetarium on a Monday afternoon.
Wow.
So we do it. The show was very well attended, very well. The response was very positive as well. So he and I are talking afterwards. He's like, "You should seriously think about doing this nationally." And this was just something I was just like, it's like going to the gym or going to like the shooting range, and you're bullseying, an apple at 500 yards. Christian, you should seriously think about competing. Really? Yeah. We don't know. Yeah. And he's like, absolutely. So
You did this audition. You kick ass.
yeah.
People are now. You're getting into this ambience music
Yeah.
situation. They go, you should do this nationally. You get invited to Cleveland.
Oh God, no.
That's
No. Oh man, you went from like Gollum finding the ring to Gollum falling in the hot lava.
Okay.
Like I forgot like the entire trilogy.
Please explain.
Yeah. No, I wish it had happened that quickly. If it happened that quickly, maybe I'd be printing money by.
Yeah.
So I have to put together the show now because I just don't want. So the original show was you go in, the lights go down, and then I do a thing, and I forget.
Go, yeah, keep on. I'm just checking. Yeah, keep on.
The original show was you go in, the lights go down, I do my shows, and you leave. But then the show itself, like I want Stardust to be where you forget about your problems for an hour. You forget about your problems with your girlfriend, your wife, your landlord, your business, whatever. So I know I needed it to be more than just a transaction. You come in, the lights go down, I do my thing, the lights go up, and you leave. So I was like, well,
You want to do more of an experience.
so then I added on the opening credits. Then I had this whole cool opening credits thing once the light goes down. Okay, that's cool. Then I did a couple shows like that. I was like, it needs more. So now I have it when you walk into the auditorium or the lobby of a planetarium or a theater, you walk in and it sounds like you're at a spaceport. You hear that low rumble, like a ship.
So you're doing the cool experience.
You hear it. Flight suits is getting zit up. This whole soundscape, like you close your eyes, it sounds like you're in a spaceport, right? Then you walk in the planetarium, the lights are down a little bit, but not all the way down.
So you're designing from the get
Everything.
every sound as you come in. That's a lot of work, bro.
It took me just for the pre-show itself, and the pre-show I think is 16 minutes long. That's like when you come out to the show, it's already playing in the lobby. I'm back in the green room or wherever, and you're sitting there watching this, you know. And I wanted space to be for everybody, not just the science geeks. Like Christian doesn't need to go across town and wear matching socks for me to tell you the barometric pressure on Neptune. Like you go, cool, that's great. Slow clap to the back of the room. But I have space as a cultural entity, how it's inspired art, music, how it relates to
Get it all together.
politics. I mean everything. And then finally, you know, I had this whole like, you know, this whole, you know, rocket launch sequence and Kennedy's speech at Rice University when he talks about we're going to go to the moon. Then the rocket launches, and I beefed up the audio so when you're sitting there in the planetarium, that sub casing is in the rocket launches.
So you're actually doing with graphics as well?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, all the visuals I found at different places and resources online. And Dr. Andrew Kerr, he's the planetarium director here in Vegas. He helped me stitch together 360 footage because I don't know 360 footage. So,
So wait a minute. So you're triggering.
no, the show starts. Here's a little peek behind the curtain. If you're the planetarium, of course I'm me. Before people are even in there, it's like turning the keys on a nuclear sub to launch a missile. I sync up my laptop.
I love the analogy.
Oh yeah, listen, I've been called a lot of things, an ineffective communicator. Not one of them, right? Not one of that analogy. We press play at the same time, and I try to get as close as possible because on my laptop, I'm seeing what you're seeing, but it's weird. It looks like a snowflake when you cut it out and you hold it flat. Because you know, because the 360 footage on the lab, that's what it looks like. So I try to get as close, you know, my laptop to what you're playing as possible. You press play on your computer, that plays the visuals up here, and then boom, I put my laptop on my stand next to my rig, and then boom, I disappear. That way people start coming in. I'm not on stage, nothing like that. And I was on tour back in November, up in Tacoma, at Pierce College up there, and it was like I think it was opening night, it might have been the second night. And I was like, man, this is the first time I've really gotten the pre-show out in front of
You actually see it how it's when what it looks like.
Right. So I'm wondering, because my goal is, I don't want people on their phones. I want you to come in and nothing else matters. Like you're not yelling Angry Birds or Tinder or whatever else.
Yeah.
I want to take you out of that so you just have this completely immersive experience. So I'm in hair and makeup for this point in time. And I come around the corner. The place is sold out. And everybody's like, not one phone out. They're partying like it's 1987. Not one phone out. I remember it. Right? It was fun. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Then the show starts, and Stardust is written in 5 movements. 5 movements, 5 key centers, 5 emotional cores. Much like a symphony, you know, different movements and whatnot. But it never stops. The music never stops. Everything just goes right at the next.
While you're doing this show, because it seems to me like you prepare the show from like even when people were getting in it,
Yep.
getting into the show,
The
marketing, all it's like. But are you once you're on stage, are you live?
100% live, 100% looping, no triggers, 100% improvised.
So let me explain for the people that are listening to us what a trigger is and what a pre-recorded show. For a lot of people that perform in events like that, they have pre-recorded a show. That's not something that you do. You go in and you, wherever you feel that way, that day.
Yeah.
You just go and you perform. Brother, that a lot of things could go wrong.
Oh yeah.
Just like something did. A lot of things could be wrong. How? Tell us a little bit about that experience, because
When things go wrong, well, we might end it at 5 hours.
you know what I'm saying. I mean,
Cancel your dinner plate.
yeah, exactly. But that's such a great, you know, listening to it from the public, how you have to prepare yourself to say, well, I want to prepare the whole experience. It's not about, I'm going to open up with this.
Right.
And then I'm going to give you the whole experience from the moment you get there.
Yep.
Forget about this. Forget about your problems. Forget about this. That takes a lot of thinking.
I think it takes a lot of thinking. I think it takes a lot of empathy too.
Sure.
Shows. I've had people come up to me in tears at meet and greet. Hey man, I was at your show and I felt my dad's presence who passed away 5 years ago. That happened to me at a show here.
Wow.
A lady came up to me at the meet and greet, like bawling, but not unhappy bawling, just like something that touched her. And she's like, "Thank you," and she leaves, right? And she come with a gal that I know, and she walks out. It's like, "John, I'll call you tomorrow." God, was it that bad? You know? Yeah. And she tells me my friend calls me and she's like, "Hey, we were sitting there. My friend's hand starts shaking. She grabs mine, and she's like, 'My dad is here in this room, and my music unlocked that.'" I was like, "Wow."
Are you playing all original stuff?
The entire show is improvised. So by default, it's all original. And like in Cleveland, I did a 1 p.m. show, I did a 5 p.m. show. By definition, it's original because it's improvised. But there are beats that I like to hit. Like the third movement, I needed a villain in my story. Like, well, how do you have a villain in a space? But I wanted to keep the narrative, the thematic elements, very much rooted in reality. I would be like, and now there's a flying saucer. Da, 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 da. Stardust pays homage to what has happened in space, what has happened in space, and also raises the question, well, what could be, you know? And like the fifth movement is, where does science end and spirituality begin?
Okay.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
You ask that to anybody, I swear in all things, you're going to get a different answer from me. But like, so for me, like the fifth movement, it gets very tranquil. It's the only movement that's primarily in a major key, you know?
And so these are minor, baby.
Yeah, everything's minor. It leads out like that. And then you finally had this resolution there at the end, and the show ends in blackness and lynched.
Okay.
And I had the audience sit there in like 8 seconds of silence. That doesn't sound like a lot of time.
It's a lot of time.
That's an eternity.
That's an eternity.
You have. I did a show on the East Coast. I think we had 135, 140 people in there. I mean, it was dead, quiet, and the lights. 10 seconds to come up after the 8 seconds, you know. So I absolutely love it, dude. I'm exhausted afterwards.
Oh, I was
2 hours in Cleveland.
Energy draining.
And man, when I got back to my hotel at night, I was sleeping like I was getting paid to.
Yeah.
It's exhausting. But you asked earlier, like, well, can stuff go wrong? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
My high school band director was a saxophonist, and he studied with Don Minza. Don Minza played up the tenor chair on the Buddy Rich band. And there's there's no room for error on the Buddy Rich bandstand, right? He'll let you know.
He'll throw you out of the bus.
He'll throw me out the bandstand on the gig, right? And he had lessons with Don Minza, and something he told me in high school I never forgot. Well, Don, what happens if you make a mistake? He's like, play the mistake.
Play the mistake.
And, I box for fitness. I'm not going after. I don't consider myself a tough guy. I'm not going after a belt. I'm not trying to compete. But I always look at mistakes like you're trying to box your way out of the corner. You get in the corner, you can't be like, hey, time out, dude. You gotta box yourself out of the corner. You make your way out of it. Play the mistake, and then it might sound like a mistake, but you start messing with it, and then all right, now you're cutting an angle. Now you come out of mistake. Does it happen, dude? Every show. But it doesn't sound like my rig fell over or whatever, nothing like that. But there are mistakes, and as my dad would always say, it's mistakes that only I know.
You will know. Yeah, and most people don't realize. And also, you're professional enough to kind of not freak out, and then stop and say, "Hey, sorry guys, sorry guys, brother, that's incredible. By the way, I'm super happy for you.
I'm gonna have a show next month.
I need to go see it.
I would. I'm beyond honored.
I need to go see it. Because what you explained to me, you sold me on it.
Yeah.
That is great. How long is your show?
The entire show, like if you got there at the very beginning of the pre-show, which I encourage everybody.
Oh, you bet you're.
Because that's part of it. Yeah. Like get there at doors. Don't get there. Hey John, it said 5 o'clock. You get there at 5:05. Like this is
because it starts. The show starts when you get in.
The show starts when you're in the lobby. So I played the Fifth Street Theater here downtown Vegas in February, and what I put together, I was like, how can I bring that pre-show experience into the lobby? So now it's an even longer show as far as the experience, not time-wise. I'm still on stage the same amount of time. So what I did. I talked to the city of Las Vegas. They're the one that hired me for the gig, and we got a projector and put it on a wall in the lobby of the theater.
So it gives you the whole experience.
So when you walked in, you hear all the and it's a completely separate audio feed from what's going on in the theater. And you look on the screen, and it's like mission control from like the Apollo missions. And they
It gets you into the
Right.
It gets you into the mood.
Yeah, because when you go to Disneyland, and you're standing in line at Space Mountain, Space Mountain doesn't start at the line. It doesn't start in Tomorrowland. Space Mountain started on Catella. When you're going to, and you can eat off the street. Space Mountain starts in the parking lot of Disneyland. We could smell Main Street USA. Space Mountain starts when you're sitting there, look at these, the getting overpriced pretzels and churros the size of their leg.
Yeah.
That's where skin. That's another inspiration for what I had. And also when I saw U2 at the Sphere, I thought it was so cool. Like when you went into the Sphere, at least for the U2 shows, I don't know what they do for the Dead and Company and the Eagles and whatnot. Like they had like this like ambient, like almost rumble sort of thing going on. But then every now and again, you'd hear these like, a cappella stems from Octung Baby, like "Take Me Higher."
Yeah. Very spacey.
It's very stiff, but it was bottom. It was directly from Octung Baby. So you kind of just like whet your appetite for the show, and then of course, I don't know if you saw U2, like once the show
You're a big fan of U2. Is that your favorite ad?
It still is.
It still is.
Yeah. My favorite musician. That's my favorite band. My favorite musician of all time is Louis Armstrong. Still to this day. It's funny listen to Louis Armstrong because you listen to Louis Armstrong, you listen to a live looping game. To me, if anybody wants the absolute blueprint of jazz music and improvisation, listen to the Hot 5, Hot 7 recordings that he made. And it's 5 individuals standing around, at a recording studio. And everyone has their part to play. And there's no overdubbing. No, like go in there, play your ass off, and then, let's sell some records.
Yeah.
And that was something that I took when I was to go back in my early stages of getting into the live looping game. I was like, okay, how can one person make himself sound like 5, but where it's not just like, don't look at it as this,
Stacking, but it has to be congruent and it makes sense. Yeah.
So the way I look at music now went from a very grid-like structured layers to now it's a sphere. I look at music in 3 dimensions. Like this is here. It's like, well, this is pan here. This is pan. Like, dude, like what's the core of the song, the point of the song, the message you want to go across, and then how do I stack that sphere out from here?
And that is very important because in most cases, when we talk about electronic music or looping or stuff like that, everybody goes grid. So it sounds very mechanical.
Yeah.
But where you're coming from, when you explain to us is, you got to go past that if you want to make an impact. And based on the stories that you told us, by the way, that's a great story where you got that audition and the guy disappeared. That broke.
Gonna sleep on the ground. Did I say previous?
You control out the lead the mother. You know what I'm saying? That takes a lot of skill, and it also a lot of trial and error. And knowing and understanding the concept of having a crowd, and kind of imagine what you would feel if you were sitting in that place, and you kind of translate it to that. Do you practice your show before you show up? Do you, like, as a guitar player, I practice the song. Right? For you, do you practice the show? I mean, I know you're improvising a lot of stuff, but I mean, is there a guideline that you go through?
I think being able to improvise with, I don't want to say authority. That sounds like some hierarchy. I'm at this level. I'm a professional. No, dude, as you and I talked about even before we started rolling, like there is no finish line in this.
No.
There is no, I'm a professional. I can do this.
No.
For me, when I practice for Stardust, it's even still like, hey, what fun and interesting sounds can I use in my voice? Is it delays? Is it filters? Is it doing a particular EQ? Is it a slicing effect? Pitch shift? Whatever. Here's a little aside. I don't use auto-tune or anything like that.
That was my next question.
Everything is 100% live and organic. So the question is, well, John, do you practice for your show? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like one of my dear friends over the UK, SK Slow-Mo, he says, you should practice and play every day.
Yeah.
But also practice with today I really want to work on this because
With intention.
practice with them. Just don't go in there and noodle around.
Yeah, that's
Do we
great.
have we all died on that cross? Dude, absolutely. We'll probably die on the cross today.
For that, brother, it's a thing that I think every musician or every performer have to really attack, right? What's the intention of you're sitting today, as opposed to you?
Yep.
Little bullshit.
The hardest part of my show for me is and even when I was in the classroom teaching all the time, it's always the transitions from movement 1 to movement 2. Are you switching keys? Are you switching
Tempos.
tempos? How smooth can you make that? And man, I've had some shows where I'm like, it feels like I've touched the microphone for the first time. Again, in my opinion, audience does it. You're the only one. I'm the only one that knows. And there's some. I did a show. Where was it? I was a couple of my shows in Cleveland. I had one show in particular in Tacoma where it was like the last movement. Because I have time cues on my laptop that the audience can't see. Hey, this many minutes to tell this or that next thing. It's like, shoot, man, the show's almost over. Like it went like you're just right there at headspace. And in my opinion, the best shows that you'll ever play are the ones that play themselves. Where like as an individual, you're almost looking down at yourself in a third person.
Sure.
And the music is just like, whoo.
It's taking you there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's always fun. And to be able to do different types of music, world music, deep house, drum and bass, heavy metal, all within the course of a 45-minute show.
Now, for those people listening to us, you do all of this with your mouth.
Most of it, yeah.
Most of it. I mean, the sounds that we're hearing, most of the sounds you generate yourself, and then you work with the sounds and edit the sounds so it makes it either lower or whatever. It kind of gives you that, that experience, which is, by the way, extremely hard to do too. To create new sounds and to get you where it's going. How we talked about a little bit. I don't know if we got this on the camera, but we talked a little bit about the performing parts and the technical parts of it. But in this podcast, we also talk about business. And you did mention that you now do your own bookings and your own management. Let's talk about a little bit about that, because as a performer, as an artist that wants to travel, that wants to expose what you do, it's important to play in different venues. You have now chose to do that on your own. Why did you go that route versus getting a booking agent or a manager? How did that come about?
I asked somebody a long time ago when I was, things were starting to happen. Hey, when should I get a manager?
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. And I'm expecting this long, Field of Dreams, James Earl Jones, people will come, Ray. People will come. Like this long soliloquy about
that they'll come.
why I need to, why I should or shouldn't get management. And this individual says to me, it's like, well, John, can you manage all your stuff right now? I was like, uh-huh. He's like, then you don't need a manager. Like, Jesus. I was like, we're having lunch. I'm like, God, what were you talking about the next 90 minutes now?
So we can go now.
Yeah. Like, where do you go from there? So, but I think when you're putting something together, be it an original project like Stardust, or hey, I'm going to start a Beatles tribute band, whatever. I think management. I think you bring in management once you have all your ducks in a row. Like you don't need the management to be like, well, Christian, have you made your website yet? Have you made your business cards? Like, get all that stuff done. Start throwing it against the wall, and when you can't manage it anymore, that's when you do it. If you're blessed to either live in a community like Vegas where there's a lot of people, a lot of artists, a lot of creative weirdos like us, so you're never more than 2 degrees of separation away from someone that can help. So, hey, man, and again, like I said earlier, hey, John, I want to learn how to work with families. Cool, take me to lunch, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Hey, man, like I had a meeting with a dude we met at Whole Foods. I was like, hey, man, I hear that you're a costumer here in town. Can I take you to breakfast and let's talk about some ideas I had? He's like, dude, absolutely, I'll be there.
Yeah.
As far as booking my own stuff, here's something that I tell in my music business workshops. Currently, as of April 2025, I have talked to single-handedly over 300 planetariums around the country myself.
Hold on. Let's point to that. Let's talk about that. As you know, I'm in real estate, and the name of the game for me is to talk to as many people as possible.
Right.
I think that translates in life with everything that we do. 300 planetarians. What is a combo? I'm a planetarian.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If you want me to sell you on the show.
I want you to show me what it would take somebody, not necessarily that does what you do, but somebody in the artist performance, like something that.
First and foremost, before you've talked to any venue, do your homework.
Okay.
I don't care if you have a planetarium show. I don't care if you're a juggler, a comedian, whatever it might be. Real estate.
Yeah.
Do your homework before you've talked to the potential venue, the potential client, the potential company that you want to work with. We'll just use me as an example. If I'm going to go talk to a planetarium, I will do my homework on them before I know who. If it's a lot of stuff you can scrape together online. You don't always have that advantage.
Sure.
Hey, hi, is Dr. So and so there? Da, 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 da. Or you send out a probing email, and it's always about being respectful and succinct as well.
Yeah.
So for me, I know, but when I talk to you that your venue seats X amount of people. If it's hey, this happened to me early on before I found out other assets online. Well, John, we only have 25 seats in here.
I see.
Yeah. Well, dude, I'm sorry. Like, we can't have you. Like, I get it. People aren't going to pay $800 a chair for my show. Sure. So I think doing your homework, and it goes back to that we talked about working with companies, endorsements, sponsorship. Do your homework, because when you do your homework on the venue or the individual or the company, that shows a lot of respect.
Yes.
It saves a lot of time. Hey, I understand that you all are releasing XYZ new product. Hey, I've done something similar in the past where I'd use this. I've made XYZ tutorials on it online. It fits really well in line with what I'm going to do. And I understand it's not, really, that product's not drop until Q3, but I'd like to get in front of you guys as maybe as a possibility to, what could I do? Again, what could I do to make your life easier? We have product. Like, goddamn, man. Like, hey, you're like, people are, whether people know it or not, everybody is a walking answer to questions that are out there.
100%.
We're looking for somebody like you to do X, Y, or C. So with planetariums, like, you don't want, dude, no one wants to get your EPK and all this stuff, this wall of text. So you send them out a short email. Hey, my name's John Allen. Da, 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 da. I have this. I do this. I understand you guys have 85 seats or whatever. I just did this at this other place.
That helps.
I'm certainly interested in chatting with you guys. I think that we can make this work. And you're not lying to them. You're being very genuine.
Yeah.
And I always like to tell people in emails, I don't want to send anything unsolicited. Again, for those in the back, I don't want to send anything unsolicited. So with your permission, may I send you more? Respect. Dude, the world's a mafia. You don't code that with respect.
One of the things that people don't realize when you get into this music business, performance business, is they forget about the business side.
Yeah.
We as musicians, we're very jealous in our art, but we forget, especially when I make a living out of this, how important it is to have people skills. And what you're saying right now, what you're talking is gold, by the way. Hey, listen, by the way, I don't want to send you unsolicited. That's great.
Yeah.
Can I send you some stuff? So now, not only do you have your full-time gig as doing all of the music, all of the shows, now also I assume that most of your time you spend is finding the next venue, finding the next situation. Let's touch a little bit onto that, brother. We talked about a lot about you performing and the art side of it. Let's talk about the business side of it,
Yeah.
because now there comes logistics. You moved to Cleveland, you went to Cleveland, you did all of these shows.
Yeah.
Now you have to find hotels. Now you got to find an airplane that takes your gear and doesn't mess it up to get there. You also have to talk to the venue in regards to, do they have the equipment that you need, or do you have to source it? How do you get ready for a situation like you just did right now?
Okay. We'll use Cleveland as an example. Yeah. And that I'm saying here is state secrets. It's not, password protected.
I appreciate it.
It's just sharing the black and white of good business and good logistics.
Yep.
Because logistics and artistry, two different things.
Completely.
Business and artistry, completely different things.
Completely.
Business and logistics, two different things.
100%.
So Cleveland and I we had a number of meetings, and then we did all the details and the numbers and the contracts and all that kind of stuff. Okay, how do you get to Cleveland and do the show? That's the question.
Yes.
So I talked with the planetarium director there, and at the time Cleveland was going through this massive $150 million renovation. And when I was on tour last summer, I called up Cleveland because I was going to be ending this particular tour in the Buffalo, New York area. I look at the map, I'm like, that's 2 hours away. That's here to Baker.
Yeah.
I could drive that. So I called him and said, listen, I'm going to be in the Buffalo area. If you guys want to talk more about this, us working together, I'll drive down to Cleveland. And think about that. Again, we'll just pause the story right there.
Yeah.
You said earlier, music's a people business.
It sure is.
You said earlier that you make the time you get in front of people. Yeah. Someone's going to be driving 2 hours to see you. You think Christian's going to say no? That shows a lot of this person takes all of this seriously. And if they're taking themselves this seriously, they're going to take us that seriously. John, we'd love to see you. So I go down there, had a great time meeting. It was very hospitable. Had a great time meeting with them. Boom, boom, boom. A week or two later, that's when contracts, boom, we hammer that stuff out. Now it's the logistics is, well, how to perform in a planetarium that when you walked through it, it literally was a skeleton. It looked like Thunderdome from Mad Max. Animations. So Nick Anderson, the planetarium director, is like, John, let's talk once it gets built out. There's a couple moving targets as far as backline and all that stuff that we're working through right now. I'll let you know when it's 4 or 5 months later. Hey, John, let's talk. Cool. We get on a meeting, and now it's just, I send him my tech writer. I send him my hospitality writer. Hospitality writer's still over the horizon, but tech writer's like, hey, man, I need this many power spots for the wall. I need this kind of audio hour. Important. And part of, when I was talking with the students of the Cleveland Institute, when I was doing an artist residence program at Terra State Community College in Fremont, Ohio a few weeks ago, it's like, listen, I don't care if it's the local bar, the coffee house, or you're playing Wembley. You send somebody something ahead of time. There's my stage plot. Does this look like it'll fit in your area? Well, now all of a sudden, even if some local, they have the coffee shop or whatever, the manager looked, holy cow, this person's taking themselves very serious.
It's a very professional move.
Right.
So
You're not just like, I'll show up every, yeah, whatever, dude, we'll figure it out. And I wish musicians wouldn't do that, because when they do that, that discredits the rest of us.
100%.
Like I saw this meme online where says how to deal with venues when they're like, well, Christian, we can't pay your band, but it's great exposure. And even the guy wrote back, screen grab it, blocked out the venue so people don't get inundated.
I wouldn't know the venue.
Right, which I've seen that happen before. And all of a sudden, those venues overnight have budget to pay their bands. I'm like, no, they must have, found oil in their backyard, right?
Yeah.
And the guy says, listen, I would love to play your venue at no cost. But in addition to my own bills I have to pay, that makes it difficult for the next bands coming in behind me to secure funding. When you can't pay us, let us know. It said, whatever, they polish it up. So anyway, back to Planetarium. We got all the technical stuff realized. I have a live-in case here that I use for local regional gigs where everything, I just pop the top, plug in the wall, on, ready to go. Done. The case itself is 70 pounds. I'm not going to ship that to Cleveland. I got to rip everything apart. It's like taking an old Yeller out behind a barn out of dread, take your whole Flandale. I have a 16-channel anvil mixing case. Yeah. Pancake everything up, put the padding in there. Throw that in the belly of the Southwest flight. And I literally just wrote a blog on this last night that the most stressful part of touring.
I was going to say, is
when you get to the baggage claim. Did your stuff arrive? I'm in Berlin 2 summers ago. I get off the plane. I've been flying since like 1930, it feels like. I'm just like, I'm exhausted. My stuff doesn't show up.
That's a nightmare.
You know what this is? Jokes aside, that's how much German I speak. So now you got to figure out, hey, who I talk to about where's my stuff at? I get an email from Lufthansa. Hey, listen, your stuff's on the next flight out. It'll be there. Fine. It comes in. I have my rig. I get to my buddy's flat there in Berlin, open it up, plug everything in. It works. That's the most stressful part of
Oh,
remodeling.
God.
Not the funky restaurants, not the hotels that smell bad like mildew, not the questionable people that you have to work with sometime, not the SUVs that get you pick you up in Miami and take you to the beach hotel, not the green rooms with you like walk in, you're like, wow, this is beautiful. The most stressful part for me is, did my stuff make it? Did it still work?
Well, especially since you hear all these stories about how they treat
Yeah.
all of it. And by the way, this is very this equipment that you're using it's a very delicate equipment. I mean,
It's not
you can throw, and it's super expensive too.
and it's all everything on there's customized. It's not like, well, my microphone didn't make it. Just go down to the GC and grab another one of these. Like, if it doesn't show up, I'm like, I get on stage and went, dude, just act like an idiot.
Do you have any backup just in case something like that happens? What as a master USB or something that you could,
I have
worst case scenario, get on a piece?
I have onesies, twosies of my rig here at home that I always keep. I basically live like an FBI fugitive. Like, stuff is always boxed up, ready to go. So if I need to, hey, come over, grab this, ship it out, overnight it, that's ready to go. I did when I was on tour a couple of summers ago, I was on Germany and the UK, and then I had a corporate event in Florida, and I brought my keyboard with me. But man, I was going to be going all through Germany and the UK and whatnot. I was like, if this keyboard craps out, so I told my mom, so I boxed up this keyboard, dropped a $50 bill on there. It's like, if I say, hey,
Go.
this needs to go. Don't ask why. just go.
But John,
Yeah, just go.
Go.
Oh, look at the time. Well, 30.
but that's a true professional because you're seeing what could happen, right? Just in case. So,
Brother, what's one of the things that you would tell yourself going back 10 years that you could tell yourself, you know what, if I would have done this differently, I would have done it? What is a thing like that?
Don't take stuff personally. Don't take stuff personally.
you came in strong today, bro.
Oh,
You came in strong today.
Yeah. Don't take stuff personally. You mentioned earlier that thief is comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
Don't worry about what the other people are doing. Even the social media stuff.
That's rough.
The podcast. I mean, you're literally, we're programmed to get on our phones and let's see what I'm doing today, and then you all know that in the back here, am I doing better than the next person?
Sure.
Sure. We all do it.
Sure.
Like when I'm home and I'm just like, going out to Guitar Center or whatever to pick up the cable, I don't need to document that. There's social media promoters out there like, dude, put everything out there. I'm like, I still like having my private life.
Yes.
Yeah. You don't need to check in from your toilet. I've seen that.
I know.
I think my advice to myself is, dude, don't take stuff personally. When Warren Zevon was on Letterman, his final show before we lost Warren X years ago, enjoy every sandwich. Enjoy the green rooms overlooking the water, but enjoy the freaking Greyhound bus ride that you have to do.
Yeah.
You're snowed in Pittsburgh and you got to get to DC overnight.
And sometimes those are the best stories. Those are the ones that you remember the most if you think about it.
Dude, I'm in Berlin with my absolute favorite musician in the world, Rico Loop, right? He's the boogeyman I check under my bed at night for live loopers. In my opinion, just for what he does and who he is. His music took me from looking at looping like as a grid, 4 bars this, 2 bars this, two, bang, improvisation. You're running all 12 cylinders. Literally spent 2 years of my life. I'm not ashamed to say it. Just spent 2 years of my life daily trying to sound like Kent.
Yeah.
Being able to improvise, fluidity, and this, that, the next thing. So I go to Berlin and Rico's like, John, I have corporate event out in Dusseldorf. Maybe we can take the train down there. My manager can get you a ticket and a hotel room. That's my half-assed German accent. My apologies to anyone that's ever spoken German.
That was great,
right?
That was.
But if you listen to Rico, it's pretty close, right?
That was great.
We go down there. This is like 3 days after I arrived in Berlin. I'm still exhausted. I'm my body spread across 30 time zones. He goes in to this hotel there in Dusseldorf. He just blows the door off the room. And I'm just watching it from the side of the stage like, God, damn, like that's life goals right there. I mean, man, that if you're a college kid, the Yankees like, hey man, do you want to go on a couple road games? Just yeah. So like, yeah, 100%. I'm getting married tomorrow. Not anymore. Yeah, I think you know what? That's a better idea. We'll do that. So the next day, I wake up and I have like 5 missed calls from them. John, I'm heading down to the lobby. It's time to go back to Berlin. Da, 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 da. I missed the train going back. Oh, wow. This is the great stories that happened, right? Yeah. So when we went down there, we took like the express train that we went from Berlin to Dusseldorf. I think in like 3.5, 4 hours, right? On the way back, dude, the only train I had ever ridden in my life goes around Disneyland. I can't. Yeah. Right. It's the only train I've ever ridden, or the one at the middle small. That's right. Yeah. That's it. So, dude, I can't read a train. Never read a train schedule.
I like how you said the metal small bar.
Oh yeah, so I panic. I'm like, God, what am I gonna do? So I pick up my phone. I'm like, I'll call my parents. They'll know what to do. I'm like, you're 42. What are they gonna do? I'm like, all right. So I'm like, shit. What am I gonna do? I'm like, okay. The horrible has already happened. You missed the train going back. The rest of my luggage and my rig is still at his flat in Berlin. I have a small backpack with a toothbrush and like a change of clothes. I'm like, how do I get back to Berlin? And for the uninitiated amongst this, it's about San Diego to Vegas.
That's right. That's it. In another country, that's
right. That might be San Diego to Neptune.
You might as well just say I'm in another plane.
Right. So I'm like, well, shit, what am I going to do? So I'm like, you know what? The horrible's already happened. It literally can't get any worse than this.
Or can it?
Or can it? Yeah. You throw that challenge out to the universe. The universe is like, well, kid, here we go. Right. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to shower. I'm going to get some food in my belly. Then I'm going to figure it out. I do exactly that. Bing, 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 bing. I go down to the train station. I hey, how much does it cost for that same ride getting back? Now I can get the ticket because management got it for me. It was like $300 or whatever it was. I'm like, no, I can walk for $50. I'll hitchhike through the country. Oh,
there. What's wrong with you guys?
So I end up getting on my tickets, and it was like 6 stops now. There was 2 going down and 6 coming back, and it's essentially the difference between doing like a chauffeured ride to the airport or taking the bus.
Taking the bus, yeah.
Right. So now I'm on this, this bus or this train. I feel like it's stopping every 10 feet. I'm like, it's gonna be winter time before I get there. So I finally get to this little bitty. So I get on this train. I think it might have drove 50 feet. Stops. Little bitty German lady comes on. She's like, starts speaking in German. I was like, sprechen Sie English? Speak English? She's like, off. I'm like, wow, that's the most German experience I've had so far. Very friendly people. Germans are some of the funniest people I've ever. I'm like, so I'm like, what do you mean off? This goes to Berlin. She's like, yeah, not till tomorrow morning. So I look out the window of my train, and it's this little bitty village. And I look out at the other side of the train. Whack. I don't know. Is it a cliff? Is it farmland? Is it ocean? Don't know. So I get off, and I'm like, God, what am I going to do? It's like 4.5 hours till the. And of course, the big city guy, like, nothing good happens at the train station, the metropolitan area, or bus stations.
No.
You go downtown on a Friday night. You've seen it. We've all go into that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, trouble has a harder time finding you if you're a moving target instead of just sitting here.
Sure.
Some guy trying to fleece you or whatever.
Sure.
So I see this group of high school kids. I'm like, hey, what's there to do around here at 2 o'clock in the morning? If you're an American that doesn't speak, German, they're like, well, we're gonna go to McDonald's. I'm like, I'm in. So these kids, we walk around the little village, and they show me all this cool stuff. We go and eat. The guy that's kind of like my handler, I bought him dinner. I said, hey man, thank you for.
You sound like a Jason Bourne movie.
Or like a Stand By Me coming of age kind of movie, right?
I'm 42.
It was beautiful. Then on the way back, they wished me well, walked me to the bus station, and that would have never happened if I had not slept in, if I, and it was just incredible. And these little, turnaround spots in the road that I got a chance to see and explore. Sometimes I had an hour, sometimes I had 2 hours in between trains. Most times I had like 10 minutes. Of course, you arrive on platform 10. My platform I gotta do is like platform infinity.
Right.
But like you said, man, it's John. What advice would you give to yourself? Like, dude, like enjoy all of it, because all of it is the road to success.
Yes.
It's not just you wake up and there's recording contracts getting handed out at Starbucks. America's Got Talent reached out to me once upon a time, asked me to come down and audition. I was like, like reaching out to me? Like, yeah, come on down. Blah, blah, blah. Cool. So I go down there, and I remember sitting there, and my dad asked me the night before I left, well, what happens if you don't make it on? And I'm like, nothing.
The same thing?
I come back and I keep grinding, man.
The same thing.
Yeah. And I go down there, and here's something that I would very much caution parents pushing their kids in the creative world. It's not steer them away from it. Absolutely steer them into it. But there was kids coming out of these auditions there at the San Diego Convention Center that year, like crying because they didn't get like the golden buzzer or the golden goose or whatever the whatever is, the MacGuffin is. And it's like, dude, that's not how it works. Like you said earlier, instant gratification.
Yeah.
Like you have to be able to, you have to be able to do the gig in front of 5,000 dime-piece Spanish women with as much passion as the 5,
No, that's
winos at the bar on Wednesday morning.
And another thing too is that you never know who's watching you. You
Never.
never know who's watching you. I've had, in my experience, some of the best gigs, connections that I've done in my career was when somebody at a shithole bar in Boulder Highway. That's just you, so you can imagine what that shithole was.
We're still talking about the Roadhouse, aren't you?
And to tell you stuff, that place gives me but it's the same story as you in Germany. Is if I hadn't done those things, like those are the things that I remember the most. Those gigs, that solo where I went there, and there was this hot chick that was like, that's my jam.
Yeah.
It's not the ones where I was on TV. No, it was the ones that where
Who has blood, sweat,
blood, sweat, and tears, and then you finish and you do all of this stuff. John, what do you tell somebody that wants to do what you do? What if it's a kid that goes and watch your show and that is into everything that you're doing right now? What is the one thing that you could give them? And you mentioned some amazing stuff and a lot of cool information for anybody who wants to get into this. But what is the one advice that you could give somebody that's just starting out in your kind of sphere?
Yeah.
What would you tell them?
What I'll do, I'll distill that question down a little bit more. If someone's wanting to start an original project, okay, because I have a question for if they're wanting to get in the live looping game. I get it all the time. John, you have this table full of stuff and all these knobs and bells and whistles. Like, John, I want to do what you want to do. Cool, great. Hey, what should I go out? You know what you could do? You go out and get that $30 microphone. You could go out there and get the small little bitty loop pedal.
Yeah.
And you go out there and get the little bitty 10-watt guitar amp or whatever makes the sound, and make that sound amazing.
Yeah.
You make that sound amazing. That like what we've talked about at the Stardust. Well, once you start playing drum, did you start from scratch with? No, I just took that same skill set and that same work ethic and invested it here. If you're wanting to get in a live looping game, start simple, and just make that thing just sing. Make it groove, make it sound good. Because when you start getting like the more advanced equipment, it's not advanced as far as skill set. It's a bigger canvas to paint on.
Yeah.
So if you can, guess what? Da Vinci could make this look like a masterpiece.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it because? And it's because he could make that look. It's all the same to Da Vinci. Sure.
Sure.
Listen to Miles Davis playing one note. You like to get down IELTS, Bader Webster, I play 3 notes. That's Bader Webster, As far as creating something original, don't compare yourselves to others. And just go in there with everything you have and be like, I don't care if, this person who bad talks me on Instagram or Twitch or whatever. Because guess what? your first audience, Rick Rubin said in an interview a couple months back, is your first audience is you.
You're the most critical audience. That's it.
But are you happy with it? Yeah, great. Then take it the next. Just because this person's not happy with it doesn't mean that Christian can't be happy with his original show. Doesn't mean that John's not happy. John's very happy with and proud of what I've been able to accomplish with Stardust. You know, is there always room for improvement? Oh God, sure. Daily, hour, minutely, if that's a word.
Yeah.
But if you're wanting to start out and do something original, you're wanting to start a business. If you're wanting to start, don't worry about all the naysayers. You know, don't. And what they say, don't take advice from people that have just failed. You know, everybody's failed, man.
Let me ask you this, because I always ask with somebody that is starting a business or it's doing something like you're doing yourself. Do you have any family comes into place where they go, Joe, why are you doing this? Especially at the beginning, because brother, this is so hard to get it going. Do you have anybody like that kind of, I don't want to say didn't want you to do it, but kind of give you like, hey man, this is really hard. Maybe I shouldn't.
You'll
have any of that?
You'll have family, you'll have friends, you'll have lovers, whatever. That, hey, you know what? Maybe you should, go into something that's a little bit more brick and mortar.
Right.
Robin Williams got, I don't know if it was an Oscar or a Golden Globe. I think it was an Oscar when he got his Oscar. He's like, I'd like to thank my dad that said, maybe you should think about bricklaying or plumbing or whatever. Then the world would have been robbed of the genius of Robin Williams.
Sure.
And here's what I'd noticed about the naysayers, man. When I was in elementary school, that's when DARE was out there, right?
Don't do drugs.
Don't drug abuse resistance education.
Is that what it stands for?
Yeah.
You know what? I thought
You nailed DARE, didn't you?
I thought I said I dare you to. I went like, oh,
No. Drug abuse resistance education.
wow, the fact that you know it.
Oh yeah, because I'm still straight edge. I don't drink, don't smoke.
Good for you, brother. Good for you.
I'm naturally
You're not.
best for better or for worse.
I think you drink coffee.
No, this is water. This is tea.
You gotta do something. Though.
Yeah, I got to do something, man. I got to find something to do. Hey, the day's young, man. So the con of DARE, and I love DARE. It's certainly helped me. But the con that DARE presented, and I wish that wasn't the case, is that the dude that's offering you, PCP or what that was big at the time, is the Yopes. Hey kid. It's this villain guy. It's the guy with the shades and the hat and the trench coat and some dark secret. The people that offer you that stuff, dude, it's your brother.
It's your friends. Yes,
it's friends.
It's your poker.
It's their. The dude in the alley, he doesn't want to share his drugs.
Really?
No, you never has.
You never have.
It's your friend. It's the dime piece at the party that you may want to this that, and some people can handle it, some people can't. That's not this discussion. The point is that the criticisms that hurt the most when you're on a creative path,
Yes.
are from the people that are closest to you.
Yes.
100%. Christian, maybe you should think about this instead of that. You're like, and that hurts. It cuts deeply. It hurts for a long time.
Let's talk about a little bit more on that, because as you know, I've been doing real estate for 20 years.
Yeah.
And believe me, it hasn't been all nice. And
It got nice this morning.
believe me, no, it's too early to tell. There were times where the real estate business, and it had nothing to do with the market in itself, but my own self, and that's another thing. But where I wasn't doing as well as I should have been doing, and I remember my mom, very concerned, came to me, and the reason, and it came from a good place.
Yeah.
Because they're worried about you, and they wanted, because I was very stressed. There was no money coming in, there was nothing. And I remember she came in and she says, "Well, Chris, maybe you should get a job at the casino, because you get benefits." And I remember being so offended, like, "Mom, like, how dare you? Don't you see how how?"
Like, I never thrown my mom through a window. You understand what
How this, like, I'm like, holy shit! I'm like, how? Don't you see what I'm doing here? Yet I'm trying to do something bigger than what I am.
Yep.
As I grow older and as I get a little bit more mature, and I know where she was coming from. I know she was coming from a good place, But it's also very, when you're pursuing your passion, when you're pursuing your own business or whatever that is, you always want to have that people that say yes. And yes, it does hurt. How do you pass by it, brother? How do you recover? I mean, I don't want to say the word recover. I guess that's a word that we could use in this environment. But you do have this, like, DJ Khaled said, they didn't believe in us.
Right.
How do you deal with that? And how do you push forward?
How bad do you want it? That's it. You can do all this, existential stuff, and you can go the Freud route or Jung or whoever. How bad do you want it? We're sitting in your beautiful office right now with your, again, out of your league wife.
Way out of my league.
Joyful gear,
Right.
incredible part of town. And, you're not sitting there eating, an egg roll in an employee dining room that was, cooked during the Nixon administration.
Yeah.
About to go out there and deal cards to a drunk guy or doing something that you're just not passionate about.
Yeah.
How bad do you want it? And I remember my first paying gig as a looper. I got $100.
By the way.
Which, by the way, the 14-year anniversary was like a day or two ago. Facebook reminded me. I'm like, holy cow, I remember that gig. And this guy comes up to me. And mind you, I'm like, caveman banging two rocks together, hoping, a spark comes out. Yeah. Very early on in my path with what I'm doing. And this guy asked me, he's like, where do you see yourself doing this? And to this day, I never forget it. I was like, in front of a sea of people and flags. I was thinking like Glastonbury, something like that. And have I played Glastonbury? No, not yet. Well, I haven't. Maybe not. How many gigs have you played? You didn't think you'd be,
Right.
Theater full of 5,000, dime pieces, Right. And like, how bad do you want it, man?
Yeah.
And I think that question supersedes age, race, religion, sexuality, political. Like, how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
Because none of that stuff has anything to do with it.
No.
So you go into it with everything, that passion we talked about, and man, it doesn't matter. Like so when I first started getting into the looping game, I had opportunities to do those career jobs, the casino jobs, or teaching here or whatever. But are you willing to live on the poverty line for as long as it takes to get there? Like, if you knew ahead of time, listen, man, I got to sit there, have top ramen for my 3 squares a day for the next 11 years. At the end of that 11 years, I'm going to, I had a very dear friend of mine. He'll remain safely anonymous. I don't know if he's ever told this story before. He told me once, he tells me once upon a time, he's like, John, when I was living in insert major metropolitan area, because I don't want to sell them out. He's like, we were using pirated electricity via extension cords from 4 blocks away, and I ate Captain Crunch for 3 meals a day for nearly a decade. Yeah, he's like, and at the time, he was part of a headlining show on the Strip. He's like, no, I wouldn't change anything. Yeah, and he told me that when I was just getting in this game, and he and I actually bonded over just the struggle. Sure, trauma bonded. You know what I mean?
Yeah, brother, it's such a. Everybody that I've talked to that does something like you do, that that we it's our passion and all that stuff. I don't think there's anybody that goes, ever since I started this thing, so
right.
And what makes it more appealing and more like proud is, man, I struggle. And I ate the ramen, and I have a friend of mine, which I won't mention names, but he's in the same field that we are. We're in real estate. There was a time in our careers. Have you seen those change machines that you have at the store?
The Coinstar.
The Coinstar.
Listen, I paid my rent a couple of times there for take Coinstar.
So there is the Coinstar, and there was a lot of we talked a lot. There was a lot of times where we would say, I went to the Coinstar. And then he told me one time, he goes, I was going to go to the Coinstar, but they take 10%. And that's not something that I can afford right now. Yeah.
This was years ago. Yeah. Okay, God.
But we still have that conversation. And by the way, he's doing amazing, right?
Sure.
He's doing great. But we always come back to that. Hey man, remember when we had, like you said, we gotta pay rent.
Right.
Let's gather all of the coins and all that stuff. And that's something that I wouldn't change, right? Because it's just like yourself. It kind of molded me into where I am, and it kind of also it keeps you grounded, brother. Because
Absolutely.
you know, I mean, we can get some highs.
Yeah.
But most of the time, when we're in this path, there's a lot of loss.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's a way, brother. What is your next show? Where are you gonna perform next? Where can people see you?
Look, let me close the least side. At least is that there's no dishonor in the struggle. Because the struggle is what makes it great. There's nothing wrong with having the day job to fill your dreams. Nothing wrong with. I don't care what it is.
100%.
There's nothing wrong with that. Because there's no one who I've met in the creative side of things that has a day job that doesn't. It fuels them for it. It makes them work harder at parking cars or cooking or whatever they're doing.
100%.
Because that passion is going to come through. Now, I've been a Wayne's World. Let me put it to you this way: I have a huge collection of hairnets and name tags. I do. My resume reads like a book, just all the things that I've done as far as jobs.
Sure.
But it helped me get to that place where you start doing the gigs, and that it starts replacing a lot of that. The need to go out there on someone else's. Like the thought of me having to be somewhere. And then say it's an 8-hour shift. They're like, well, find something to do for the next hour and a half. Like you do enough gigs. You're like, I did my part. The floor is clean. I did it in 90 minutes. I'm going home.
Yeah. I get it, brother. I get it.
John, how did you call over 300 planetariums? By remembering that.
Every day.
And so it's not the how. How do you call duty? Paddock?
Yeah.
Paddock, yeah. Paddock can call 300 planetariums on Paddock's own, right? The how is easy. Paddock, call this, tell them this.
Yeah. But why? Why are you doing it? Why do it? 100%.
The next show, I believe, let me look at my yonder calendar here real fast. I don't want to say the wrong thing, and then you got to spend a fortune in post to correct my error. May 15th.
May 15th, where are you going to be?
May 15th at the College of Nevada inside the Dell Everett Planetarium.
Okay.
I'll be doing Stardust. Time to be determined. Probably 7 o'clock. That's 7:30, somewhere's in there.
Where can people find you, brother? I know justalliance.com.
Just Alliance, JUSTALLIANCE, justalliance.com. If you look at Just Alliance on Instagram and also Facebook, you'll find me there as well. I'm in the middle of rebranding. This is the first time I got public with it. I'm doing a whole rebranding issue right now. That for now, until it's done, that's where you'll get me on all the socials and whatnot. And if you go to my website, go to the contact page, that comes directly to me. That doesn't go to some AI. Thank you, Christian, for your email inquiry about John Allen. It comes right to me. But then I'm going to be doing some rebranding, and I have some stuff in store for my show that I'm working on.
John, thank you so much for coming in, man. It's a pleasure seeing you. I'm so happy that you're doing so good, brother. The fact that you sold out 11 out of 12 shows, that's an incredible feat, and you should be super proud of yourself, just like I am, of knowing somebody that is doing that. Guys, I would definitely recommend you guys seeing him perform. It's gonna take you to a different place, and he's definitely enjoying. My man, John, thank you so much. Tell him, guys. One more thing.
One more thing.
Yes.
I did sell out 11 out of 12 shows. It was a team effort with the team there at the Cleveland Museum of Natural History. The marketing team, the staff, the museum staff, the astronomy team, the higher brass, the board members. I was just the most visible part of it because I was the one on stage, but that everybody else, I was only on their shoulders that I was able to achieve that as part of a whole. So
that's how modest he is. If it was me, it would have been like, yeah, well, this is what I do. But
Thank you so much, brother. You are the band. Guys, thank you once again. Subscribe and like, and I'll see you guys next week.
My man.
My man.